Hussle and how the Los Angeles Police Department targeted him via predictive policing. While this story is based in the US, it's important to keep in mind similar things happen in Australia, with evidence that preventative policing programs like the Suspect Target Management Plan, or STMP, in New South Wales disproportionately targets Indigenous kids. Okay, here's Today in Focus, and just a warning, this episode contains some strong language.
Y'all make some noise for Nippsey Hussle. I say it again, make some noise for Nippsey Hussle. Put my right hand in God, they sitting on your sofa. Say him get that shot.
Yeah, so unbeknownst to Nippsey and Sam at the time, and something that the public only recently learned, was that Los Angeles Police Department had actually targeted his specific store through a kind of secretive program that was called Operation Laser.
Stop you for actually committing a crime, but there's many innocuous reasons why a cop might stop you and interview you and take your information down. Regardless, all of that information was going to go into the system.
Zoom in on the desk and you see what it's all about. Those little boxes, they show exactly where the computer predicts crimes will happen in the future. Zones that were drawn up not by a person, but by an algorithm.
Their theory was that where crime had occurred, it might occur again, or a person that they had found to be suspicious might commit a crime in the future.
And when you managed to get your hands on the records of Operation Laser and the way it was applied against Nippsey Hussle, what did it show you?
Well, what it showed us was that this was, for years, an area that they decided to send police presence to and invest their resources into.
Yeah, and that, of course, chimes with what Nippsey's brother Sam said, that they had this sense that the police were always there, to the point where people in the neighborhood would avoid even going to the store if they didn't want to come into contact with the cops. As you looked through the data, did you see how the police were actually operating on this street corner? Like, can you pull out an example of a specific thing the LAPD did there?
They were looking for, in that intersection, someone who was a suspect of a robbery, I believe it was. And the description was extremely, extremely broad. It was a black man between the ages of 16 to 18. And in an effort to look for that person in that intersection, within a very short period of time, I believe it was 2 weeks, they stopped about 100 people. Just with the description of a black man between the ages of 16 to 18.
100 people, wow. Do we know why this predictive policing program ended up being directed at Nippsey Hussle?
No, I mean, the public records that we took a look at did not give, an exact reason. But the reason why Nippsey Hussle's story is so emblematic of what's wrong with Operation Laser is that even prior to the intersection that his store was on being targeted explicitly as an anchor point, Nippsey and his family and his friends were being, harassed and targeted. And so it shows and it really illustrates how this program that is based on existing policing decisions basically just created a vicious cycle where they validated the decisions that they were already making.
So this algorithm that promised to kind of bring a perfectly rational approach to who was going to commit crime actually relied on data that came from people, from the decision of police to enter certain areas and collect data from certain people. And so it sounds like it wasn't the kind of unbiased program that it was promised to be.
Exactly. So algorithms, it's just math. And algorithms can only be as neutral as the inputs and the data that is being put into it. And the data that was being put into it was based on existing policing. According to them and according to its architects, they said that it was a major and massive success. They said that it helped them, that it made them more productive, it made them biased, right? They were saying that, we're going to tell our algorithm, or we're going to tell our artificial intelligence system that these things are things worth flagging and could potentially be a sign of fundamentalism. And those things are actually protected activity and just examples of, someone expressing their faith.
Is this the future of policing?
Yes, 100%. It's not even just companies that explicitly and overtly are trying to surveil people for police. There's also companies that we engage with and interact with on a daily basis. Amazon, Google, Facebook in a lot of cases have expanded and grown to an extent in all the industries and spaces that they're in, that there isn't really a ton of other room for growth in
were impacted in various ways by Operation Laser because it really matched up with their lived experiences of policing.
Something I find a bit sad about this story is that when you look at Nippsey's life and legacy, he managed to forge a new path for himself. He wasn't a prisoner of his past, and he was also really committed to finding pathways for other people from his neighborhood to do the same thing, to break the cycle of criminality. And the whole vision for his store was to be a business and a positive presence in the neighborhood. But it sounds like, in a way, and maybe partly because of this policing strategy, he was never really able to escape that past, that he and the people around him, those who came to his shop, ended up locked in that same cycle of conflict with the police.
Nippsey's legacy.
The store has to, for us, that's the first marathon store, but opening it back up where my brother was killed, back for business, like nothing happened, can't do it. But the goal is eventually to, create like a youth center there, create like a weekend program for the youth where they can come in and teachers.
Was by Axel Cocoutier.
The very, very rich and willing commercial sector of the tech industry that is extremely happy and is hungry for these police contracts. One company that we looked into was Voyager.
Keeping the world safe is an incredible challenge, requiring constant vigilance.
Based on existing policing decisions,
get around this and keep the Marathon clothing store was to actually buy the property from the landlord.
And I don't know if anybody knows, we had got a 30-day notice.
Sam told a story about how they brought something called a nuisance probe. Essentially, how they tried to pressure the landlord to evict Nippsey from the store.
The police, they're putting pressure on us. They said we can lose this property if we don't kick you guys out the lot. I remember this used to be a vacant lot, and people used to be scared to rent the lot. You guys came here, you changed it. People are pulling up. Every lot is rented. And at this point, if you guys still are interested in buying the lot, rather than kick you guys out, we're willing to sell it to you.
And in the end, the only way the brothers could get around this and keep the Marathon clothing store was to actually buy the property from the landlord. Once
Grammy-nominated rapper and community activist Nipsey Hussle are in a state of shock today.
In 2019, at the age of just 33, Nipsey...
The city still had their ongoing nuisance case, and they were still interested in removing the store from the neighborhood. And they kept pursuing that, which was obviously devastating for the family dealing with just loaded.